Hello, and welcome to the Holy Hour Podcast. It's the All Cure Podcast. I'm Gavin, and we are continuing our 2026 coverage of the Summer European Festivals Tour. And woo, oh my God, we got to talk about what just happened out in France last weekend. 3 nights of magic. Shows number 21, 22, and 23 in Nimes. We got varying set list. We got 3 tour debuts played on all 3 nights. So even if you just went to one of the shows, you didn't miss out. We had a guest performer and all of that inside of a venue that could have qualified as Theatre Antique des Oranges' long lost lover. This beautiful historic theater. So many beautiful pictures and videos have surfaced since these shows, and the band just seemed to be really nailing it each night, really playing their hearts out. And I would love to dive into all the juicy details, but I am not the one that you want to hear from when it comes to shows of this magnitude. So luckily, we have first-hand account from our good buddy Tania, who was there. Tania's a longtime listener of the podcast, longtime contributor to the podcast, and frequent guest of the podcast, and even longer-time diehard fan of The Cure. So she attended all 3 nights and sent in immediate thoughts right after each night, fresh out of her soul into our ears. Let's hear it from her, and then I'll chime in after each little night and give my little stupid numbers and factoids as needed. But let's do it. Let's hear it straight from the source. Take it away, Tania.
Hey Gavin. Hello everyone listening. This is Tania. I just wanted to, I might record this in 3 parts. I'm just recording now after night 1. It's the morning of night 2. I'm in my hotel room. So I guess I'll start at the beginning when the shows started to be announced for this tour, this festival tour. At first I was like, okay, well, there's no way I'm going to be able to go, for all the many different reasons that we tell ourselves. And then a friend of mine on Reddit was like, Tania, are you going to any of the shows? And I started to write back to her and tell her why I wasn't. I think I did write back and say, no, I'm not. And then as I was writing it and after I wrote it, I started questioning my choices. And then right after they announced the 3 shows in Nimes, and I was like, you know what? I'm fucking going. And so I did it. I got the tickets and I booked the hotel immediately. So I got a really nice 4-star, super eco-friendly hotel, a 5-minute walk from the venue, for pretty cheap. I think I got my rooms for 163 euros per night, and I looked when I got here yesterday, and they're going for 284 now. So I got in real early. Then I bought my flights, and there's a long story there that's not important. Basically, my first itinerary would have taken me all the way to Montpellier with a 20-minute train ride to Nimes, but Delta canceled that entire itinerary, so I had to redo it and fly to Paris and then take a 3.5-hour train ride to Nimes. But anyway, I got here and I had to overcome a lot to get here because I've had anxiety ever since I was a little kid. Like before even 10 years old, I would get horrible anxiety. And then in March of this year, found out that what we thought was OCD for 57 years is actually autism. So I am autistic with severe anxiety, and I do not like anything out of the norm or routine. And so I had to overcome all that. I also hate flying. And, but there's only one band I would do all that for. And so here I am. I did it. And so I was super tired when I got here night before last because I cannot sleep sitting up. I don't know how y'all do it. Everyone that can do it, I cannot. So I figured out it was a total of 23 hours and 5,300 miles that I had not slept when I finally got here. But I got here, and when I got to my room, I ordered room service immediately, and I got a pastis, which is a drink that's very specific to the south of France. So I knew I wanted to try that. It's like a black licorice tasting liqueur, I guess you would say. And so you can Google it. It was really good. It might not sound, I don't even like black licorice, but I remembered I used to love Sambuca back in the 90s. I went through a Sambuca phase. So I was like, I'm going to try it. And it is freaking delicious and very refreshing, especially here in the hot south of France. And I ordered a cheeseburger because I couldn't even mess with the French food when I first got here. I was so tired. But I took French in high school and college, and I remembered a lot of it, and I brushed up on it before I got here. So it has always been a dream also of mine to come to France. I never thought I would, and I'm here. So I have been indulging in the French food since then. But yeah, night one, it was a cheeseburger and a pastis. And so the next day I got breakfast room serviced to my room. And so I was able to have croissant and café au lait in France. And that was like really exciting for me. And so for the first day, I did do a little walk. I walked down, I can see the venue, just the top of the venue from my hotel room. And between the venue and my hotel, there's a big garden and fountain. I should have looked up the name before I started recording this. But it's like it's a big park with a fountain in the middle, and all around the park are like little sections of biodiverse and biosustainable gardens, which was really cool. And then, so I walked around there and then walked to the venue, and the first sight of the venue from the street is pretty stunning because we don't have shit like this in America. I mean, it was, yeah, stunning. I just had to stop and stare at it. And then as I got closer, I saw the merch booth being set up, and I saw the t-shirt for the night. So I took a picture and put it up online as quick as I could for everyone to see. And then what's funny is there's a poster for Lol. Apparently Lol is touring with his son Gray this November, and they're playing in Nimes. So it was kind of funny to see a poster with Lol's face on it outside the Cure concert. And then I happened to hear, I wasn't planning on this at all, but I got there at the beginning of sound check, and I could hear all of the instruments being checked one by one. And then they played A Letter to Elise, and they had not played it yet on this tour. So I knew, holy shit, if they're rehearsing A Letter to Elise and they play it tonight, it's going to be a tour debut. So that was really exciting. I think I posted about that. And then I walked home, took a nap, had dinner, had another pastis and this goat cheese on toast, Chavignol AOP. It's a pretty famous goat cheese here in France. So I had that. Went to the concert. So when they announced the openers for the concert, I immediately checked out Zélie Zephyr. And while I really admire Robert for giving a local the opportunity, their music is just not for me. It's like French synth pop, and I was not into it. And since I'm old with a couple of ailments, I've also had kyphoscoliosis my whole life. And then I fell off a horse when I was 16 and broke my back. So now I have arthritis all in my back. It's called post-injury trauma. So I have to conserve my energy. So I did not arrive in time for Zélie Zephyr. No shade, no hate, just it was a decision I had to make for me. But I definitely got there in time to see, and also the Trees, because they are fucking legends. And as probably a lot of everybody knows, they first toured with The Cure back in 1980 after Robert handpicked them after they sent him their demo. And they've been friends ever since. So for me to be, I call myself an elder goth. I was goth in the 80s before we even called it goth. And I loved And Also the Trees, but I never got to see them. I had seen The Cure in 86 and 89, but I never got to see And Also the Trees back then. So to see them with The Cure, you know, all these years later was pretty special. And they were awesome. They did a really good job. And then it was time for The Cure, and they opened with Alone. And I don't want to say this is a complaint, but honestly, I was hoping for Plain Song. I was hoping they would do a Plain Song Disintegration first set, but they did an Alone End Song first set, which was fine. Maybe they'll do it either tonight or tomorrow night. And highlights during the set for me were all the Robert and Simon moments that I've heard people complain about, you know, like, oh, they do this the same way at every song. Fuck y'all. I live for those moments. I love, you know, where they face each other in the beginning of Pictures of You and they play together, and then the back-to-back thing during Burn. Do it every show. Do it every show until we die. I love that. So I loved seeing that again. And Eden. I want to talk about Eden. You guys, Eden was the perfect choice. You know, when after Perry passed away, and in the beginning of this year, we started thinking, you know, what are they going to do? Are they going to replace Perry, or are they just going to go down to being a 5-piece again? And, you know, there is no replacement for Perry, but the choice to put Eden in that spot was perfect and obvious in retrospect. It's just, he brings such an amazing energy, not to mention the fucking talent he brings to the stage and the shows and the songs. And I kind of feel like a proud auntie when it comes to Eden, because I remember when that kid was born, you know? And I remember, if I'm correct, I think he's the baby in Play Out. And of course, he's the beer roadie in that interview with Robert from the 90s. I think I can't remember what year. But, you know, I've watched that kid grow up, I feel like. And to see him, it really, I'm crying now. It was special. It was special. And then on top of that, A Night Like This started, and I'm looking and I'm like, wait, there's a guy with a saxophone on this stage. Holy shit, they're going to do a sax solo rather than Reeves' guitar solo, which are awesome, you know. I mean, Reeves is a fucking legend by himself. But there was a guy with a sax, and I was like, no way. So I got my camera ready, because I don't take a lot of pictures and videos during the shows. I like to live in the moment, but I try to record like special stuff, just shorts. And so I got my phone ready to record the sax solo. And I did. And then come to find out later on, that was Jason's son. So to see, you know, like these men that I've admired for 40 some years, and now their next generation, their sons on stage with them, it was, it's emotional. It was really good. All right, now let's talk about that encore. And so we expected A Letter to Elise, but they came back and fucking went into It Can Never Be the Same. And I lost my fucking mind, because that is one of my like quiet favorites, one of my sleeper favorites. And we don't have it on a studio album. We just have that one live recording. And that song hit me so hard one morning. I had listened to it before and I loved it. But one morning I was driving to work, and that part where Robert just almost screams, "It can never be the same." It hit me so hard, and I started bawling in my car on the way to work thinking about some people that have passed away that I know my life will never be the same without them in it. And so they played that song, and then they went into Faith. Whew, y'all. Try to imagine what 20,000 people losing their minds looks like and feels like. It was a mind-blowing collective experience. And then they went into A Letter to Elise. So we got 3 tour debuts back to back to back. It was, there were people online saying this was the best set of the tour so far, or the best show of the tour so far. And I gotta agree. And, yeah. So, and then they ended with all the hits. And, the venue, I'll just end with talking about the venue. The venue is beautiful but treacherous. Especially for someone who's 57 years old with some back ailments. It was rough. I mean, it's 2,000 years old, so it has settled a lot. So it's there. Most of the floors and everything is concrete. I don't know if it's technically concrete. It might be something else because of the history. I'm not sure, but everything is stone, I'll say. Hard stone. The steps are deeper than we're used to. Everything is slanted. Everything is uneven. There's barely a handrail in sight. It was rough, and the seats are very hard. They're wood laid on top of stone. So that part was pretty difficult, but, fuck it. The show just overcame all the obstacles of the venue. I was glad that I only had one drink and that I was wearing sneakers, because if I had been in boots and drunk, I would have busted my ass. I know that for a fact. So anyway, that was night 1. I'll record my thoughts on night 2 tomorrow.
All right, what a great way to start off the trip. So glad you made it there safe and are holding up, and had a great first night. Friday, July 24th, 21st show of the tour. They would play 30 songs with a set that ran 155 minutes, breaking the record as the longest, or the most songs in a set at least. I haven't timed the other ones, but I'm pretty sure this would still be the longest. We were, I think, at 28 was the most previous to this, and we got 30 songs: Alone, Pictures of You, High, Love Song, Catch, Burn, Fascination Street, Alt End, Push, In Between Days, Just Like Heaven. Then we got Treasure for only the 7th time on this tour. They played it a lot in the beginning and hadn't been a while. We hadn't heard it since July 5th at the Rock Victor Festival, and Want as well. A Night Like This was after that, and we got, of course, as she said, Gabriel, Jason's 17-year-old son, playing the sax solo. You guys know I have my issues with sax solos, but we're going to make an exemption for this because that's pretty fucking cool and pretty sweet that it's Jason's son doing it. So, and he has that glorious Jason-like hair, too. You could just see it right there. So, very cool. And I'll listen to the sax solo all day in a situation like that. That is great. Secrets followed, another rarity. Play for Today, A Forest, From the Edge of the Deep Green Sea, and ended the main set with End Song. Then we got the first of 2 encores, which we haven't got hardly any of that. So we got It Can Never Be the Same, tour debut, Faith, tour debut, last played on the Euro leg of the Songs of a Lost World tour in 2022. Letter to Elise, tour debut. So all 3 in a row. That's pretty fucking crazy. And that hadn't been played since the 2016 tour. And that started off the pop encore. So you got the full pop encore with an additional Letter to Elise. How fucking cool is that? Lullaby. And the first alternate, Hot, Hot, Hot. The Walk, Love Cats, Friday I'm in Love, Close to Me, Why Can't I Be You, and Boys Don't Cry. Rounding out the first night. Woo! That alone was enough to kick your heels up and say, God damn. So let's see what happens. Night 2.
Bonjour. Je retenais pour nuit 2. Night 2. Okay, so last night I was way closer. I knew I was going to be closer, but I couldn't really tell from the map how much closer, and I was close. It was pretty exciting. And not only was I a lot closer, but I was way more comfortable because I had bought a cushion during the day to sit on. So that helped. And also I was on the front row of the terrace, so I didn't have a row of people in front of me. And I was on the end of the row. So I also wasn't boxed in between two people. And I was on the end that was right next to the stairs down to the bathrooms and stuff. So it was way better for me last night, just being closer and being way more comfortable. And it was fun watching the crew set up because, we all know them, and I don't know why, but I didn't know until night 1 that Jeremy was Eden's tech now. I don't know how I missed that along the way when the show started. I'm sure everybody else knew, but I was watching him set up and I was like, wait, is Jeremy Eden's tech now? I even messaged Arusha and I was like, is Jeremy Eden's tech? She was like, yep. So, but it's fun watching them. It's always a thrill. I got Al's, Sisters of Mercy little riff that he does during his check, and I got that recorded, and, just little things like that as someone who's followed him for a long time. Likes. So that was fun. And then while waiting for the show, they did this on night 1 too. The crowd starts doing the wave, and it's so fun. Like, I've seen it in arenas on TV in America at like baseball shows and stuff, but it's so fun to like actually participate in it. And it's huge because that arena is huge, and it goes all the way around. It starts in the pit and goes all the way around, and then when it gets to the end of the curve, it goes through the pit again to get to the other side. And that was a fun thing. Also, I was in the perfect position because I was on Eden's side of the stage, looking across the stage toward the tent where Brains is and where Mary would stand if she was at the show. And I heard that she was at night 1, but I couldn't see her from where I was. And so night 2, once I realized where I was and I was watching the crew and everything, I was like, oh, I'm going to be able to see Mary. But she didn't come to night 2, so I was disappointed. I was really looking for her. My friend on Reddit said, it was like seeing an angel when they walked her to her spot. And I was like, oh gosh. Because, I've talked about how fascinated I am with Mary and have been since the 80s. But she wasn't there, but it's okay. I'm just going to really try to hit highlights since my first recording was kind of long. There was a tech issue with Eden's stuff. I don't know what it was. It seemed to be like something wasn't connecting, but you could see first Jeremy, then Al joined in frantically trying to fix it. And, Eden was understandably sort of distracted, while all that was going on, because he was trying to figure it out. They were trying to figure it out. I could even see Brains speaking into the mic, so I think he was in some of their in-ears about what was going on. And it went on for quite a while. It wasn't distracting, probably not, it wasn't something that like everybody would notice, but I just happened to be on that side of the stage. And plus, I'm really observant. I just notice everything. And so that was happening, but they got it fixed. It took a few songs though for it to get fixed, and then once it did, Eden went back to his normal, super talented rocking out self. And then the moon rose during Push. I happened to look up at the sky, and it was right above. It had gotten right above the arena, and so I got some really good pictures of that and a couple of short vids of that. The crowd just goes fucking crazy during Push. As well as, like, of course, Play for Today, the whoa. On night 1, I didn't realize I was going to actually, of course, I've seen it on YouTube from home, how much louder it is in Europe. But it didn't dawn on me that I was going to experience it until like just a few seconds on night one before it started. I was like, oh shit, we're going to do the woes. It was pretty awesome to experience that. And then a couple of songs before they played A Night Like This, I happened to notice Gabriel sitting on the stairs with his sax in his lap. So I knew that was coming up. And then of course they did that in A Night Like This, and it was great. Just like night one, he did a great job. And for some reason, A Forest to me sounded extra everything last night. Especially at the end of the lyrics, at the end of Again and Again and Again, that build up was amazing in the French crowd. They go crazy. And then when it just goes into the music for after that, it was like, I felt like I was floating. I mean, I felt physically moved by it last night for some reason. It was just so fucking good. Reeves's solo in End Song was a religious experience. It was so good. Simon seemed extra feisty throughout the show. He was, he's always the one that moves around the most, but the way he was, would strum his instrument, and like just his body movements seemed a little more like feisty, like really into it last night. And that was fun to watch. And then Robert sang It Can Never Be the Same. I don't even know if he did this the first night. I don't know why. I think because I was so stunned I was seeing it live, that I didn't notice the first night. But last night he sang it differently. He sang, it was almost a completely different melody, but it still worked. It was almost like maybe an alternate take. You know how, especially with them, when Robert gives us the extras on the reissues and the remasters and the anniversaries and stuff, and we get to hear like the demo version and the rough studio version. It was almost like it would have been an alternate version of the song, not musically, just the melody, but it was still worked and it was really good. That was pretty cool. And they threw in Mint Car. I know that's a really divisive song. You either love it or hate it. I love it. Never got to see it. So they played it last night. That was a little bit of a surprise. They did do the same encore, the It Can Never Be the Same, then Faith, then Elise. But somewhere in that mix of the last few real up songs, they threw in Mint Car. And so that was exciting for me. And yeah, they still like started with, did the Alone and End Song main set. So there's a few of us that are still hoping for a Plain Song Disintegration main set tonight. My seat is not as close tonight, but I'm still on the front row of the terrace. So it should still be really comfortable. I should get really good views of more of like the arena and the crowd and stuff. I'm still pretty close. Like last night I was in 207, which is like pretty much right on top of the stage on the side. Tonight I'm in 203, so I'm just 4 sections farther away. It's not a horrible seat, but last night was definitely my best seat. But anyway, yep, I will report the highlights of night 3 tomorrow. Hobby in tow.
Holy shit, another banger. Oh my God, Saturday night, July 25th, the 22nd show of the tour. Again, 30 songs. This time 2 extra minutes too, 157-minute long set. So no curfews here out in southern France. Just a quick rundown of the set list as Tania capped off all the highlights, of course. We got, again as the opener, Alone, into Pictures of You, High, Love Song, and again Catch, Burn, Fascination Street, Never Enough this time, flipping in there, Push, In Between Days, Just Like Heaven, Last Day of Summer, and In Your House for only the 3rd time on this tour. So swap it in Your House. Last time we heard that was in Portugal, in Cardiff. Then we got a night like this again with Gabriel returning to play that wicked sax solo. So a lot of the set would stick to the same with some alternates, but you're getting lots of cool things a second run through, so no one's going to argue that. And so cool that if you didn't catch one night of this tour or this run of shows, then you didn't miss out on like seeing Gabriel. Play for today, a Forest Primary, so a solid little 17 seconds block there. Primary had only been played once before, so this is the second time on the tour after being debuted in Berlin. Closing out the set with From the Edge of Deep Green Sea and End Song again. And again, the 1 and 2 encores, same structure, but oh my god, who wouldn't want to see this twice in a row? It Can Never Be the Same, followed by Faith. And then the pop encore, kicking it off again with Letter to Elise, Lullaby, The Walk, this time swapping in Mick Carr, and then Love Cats, Friday I'm in Love, Close to Me, Why Can't I Be You, and Boys Don't Cry. How on earth are you gonna top that? There's no way they can top that. Maybe they will top that. What do you think, Tanya?
Bonjour. I am back to talk about night 3, which in my opinion was the best night for several reasons. First, I want to talk about just the city of Nimes in general. I think this was the best place for me to visit for my first French experience, my first European experience. It's just a lovely, cool little town rather than a big city. The people were super nice and lovely. They let me practice my French. But then if I got stuck, they would immediately switch to English. So that was nice. Pretty much everybody spoke English. They would speak to you in French first. And if you didn't understand them, all you had to say was, I would say anglais, or you can just say English, and they'll switch right to English. So, but I did get to practice some French. The weather, as expected, was hot. The first 2 days were really hot. And then on day 2, we had storms come through. It rained before the concert and after the concert, but not during the concert, which was so amazing. And then I guess that kind of cooled things off because day 3 and night 3 were very breezy and nice, which made night 3 show great. Oh, let's see. At the show, I tried to go live with Arusha, but I couldn't join for some reason. I kept, we were talking and texting, and she went live, and I joined. I requested to join, and I don't think she could admit me for some reason. And then she sent me invites, and I accepted the invites, but then it would just blank back to the first screen. It wouldn't let me in. So technology was not our friend, so I wasn't able to go live with Arusha. I was a little bit farther back, but not by much. And I was at less of an angle, so it was almost better, actually. It was almost a better seat. It wasn't as close, but it was a better angle. I had a better view, I guess you could say. I was sandwiched in between 2 people, but neither one of them stood up the entire show, even during the, more upbeat songs, which I love. We all 3 have mastered. I already knew this about myself, but they were the same way, mastered dancing sitting down. It's an art that you develop if you have back problems in your late 50s. So we did that. So that was awesome. I was less focused on getting any pictures because I wasn't going to get anything that I hadn't gotten before. I mean, really all I could get was full stage pictures. I stopped taking pictures of the screens because they never come out right. So I was more focused on getting short videos of what I call the highlight moments. So like the things I talked about in my first recording, Robert and Simon doing the intro to Pictures of You, Robert and Simon doing the back-to-back thing in Burn, the sax solo by Gabriel, a couple of Reeves' solos, stuff that I knew was coming. Oh, the ending of A Forest, and just stuff like that. So I focused more on getting short videos. I'll put them on my Instagram. So low lights for me were no plain song, Prayers for Rain or Disintegration. That was weird, but okay, I went to the prayer tour, so it's not like I've never seen them, but I think a lot of us always hope for that combo. And no Mary sighting. That was a disappointment for me. forget that I saw Robert and Simon and The Cure. I didn't see Mary. So, sigh. Highlights, though, I thought it was the best show. I thought night 3 was even better than night 1 because of the surprises that we got. Night 1, the surprises were really the encore. And then they did those same 3 songs all 3 nights. But night 3, they busted out 3 Imaginary Boys, Charlotte Sometimes, and Shake Dog Shake. And yeah, that was really, I think that was for the older fans, and it was much appreciated by this old fan. And seeing Perry on the screen during Shake Dog Shake was very bittersweet, but it was more sweet than bitter. And I'm glad that Robert kept that in. I think that was a very sweet choice. I liked that. And during the encore, the swap out song was Let's Go to Bed. So I think, if I'm correct, night 1, they put Hot, Hot, Hot in the encore. Night 2, they swapped it for Mint Car. And night 3, they put Let's Go to Bed. And that was really fun. But, I mean, overall, Robert seemed super happy. And he cried happy tears, I think, this time. And he was just his general, usual, charming, charismatic, sweet, funny, cute self. And honestly, it was everything I could have hoped for. It really was, especially with those 3 classics thrown in last night. It was everything I could have hoped for. And now I have to leave my hotel room in 8 minutes to walk 400 yards to the train station. And taking the trains are hectic for me. They're stressful for me because I'm just not used to it. It is a good system, but I'm so paranoid that I'm going to get on the wrong train or the wrong platform and miss my connection, because my plane for America on Air France leaves at 4:30 p.m. So I got to get to Charles de Gaulle by 4:30. So everything's got to go right. I've already gotten an email telling me the AC on my second plane is not working, and encouraging me to change, but I can't because I got to catch a plane, because I got to get back home to my kitty cats. I miss them so much, but they're well taken care of. So I should be home tonight at midnight American time, midnight East Coast time, but it's going to feel like 6 a.m. tomorrow to me. It's going to be another 22-hour. That includes all my layovers. I'm just saying 22 hours until I'm walking into my door once I leave out of this door. So another long travel day, but totally worth it. And I'll talk to y'all later. Au revoir.
Well, sounds like they did top that, in Tanya's perspective anyway. And how cool was that, to have the final night be the one that stuck with her and hit home the most. So glad that was the greatest finale for Tanya. July 26th, Sunday night, 23rd show of the tour. Again, 30 songs. And again, 157 minutes with some swapped in and out songs. So even though it is a perfectly amazing set the past 2 nights, we get some more variations in here. Here's the quick rundown of the set list again. Alone, Pictures of You, High, Love Song, Catch for the 3rd night in a row. Played only 5 times on this tour, but the last 3 nights in a row. So how perfect is that? Burn, Fascination Street. Then we got A Night Like This, a little earlier in the set this time, with Gabriel on sax, rocking it out on that solo. Push, In Between Days, and Just Like Heaven, followed by Trust. Again, like Treasure, we hadn't really heard that one in a while. This is the first time since Slovakia on July 8th. And the 8th time total on this tour that we got to hear Trust. 3 Imaginary Boys comes after that, which is only the 2nd time on this tour. And a great addition, so more boxes getting checked there. We know that Tanya was a big fan of this stretch here. 3 Imaginary Boys, Charlotte Sometimes for only the 5th time on the tour. Played for Today, A Forest. And at the end of A Forest, apparently he played a few notes of Holy Hour. Yeah. So Thanks, Simon. We appreciate that. And after that was Shake Dog Shake for the 6th time on this tour. And followed by From the Edge of the Deep Green Sea and End Song. So possibly, like Tanya said, the only thing you could go, oh man, was that they did stick to Alone and End Song every night. With this much change up, you would think that they would have swapped in one of those nights as a plain song Disintegration ending, but no, Cure's gonna do what Cure's gonna do, right? So then we got this amazing 1-2 encore again with It Can Never Be the Same and Faith. Letter to Elise kicking off the pop encore. Lullaby, The Walk, Love Cats, and this time swapping in for the alternate spot, Let's Go to Bed. Into Friday I'm in Love, Close to Me, and the last two being Why Can't I Be You and Boys Don't Cry, as they have been. So pretty awesome, and I'm happy to report that after an annoying flight delay in New York, Tanya did make it back home safely. Last I heard, she was settling in, snuggling with those cats, so all is well in the world, and glad you made it back safe, Tanya. And as luck would have it, our other trusty correspondent, Colleen, has sent in some thoughts on her experience in Nimes, France. And with a little time and the dust has settled a bit, put it in perspective on this a magical string of evenings. Colleen, what's your perspective?
Hello, Holy Hour Podcast. This is Colleen with her final report from the field. At any rate, I am home now after attending 8 concerts from The Cure's 2026 Summer Festival Tour. Today I'll talk a little bit about the wonderful 3 shows in Nimes, France. I spent a few magical days in Nimes, France, and attended all 3 of the concerts in the Arène de Nimes, a Roman amphitheater built around 100 AD, not long after the Colosseum in Rome. And it's supposedly one of the best preserved Roman amphitheaters in the world. Of all the shows on this summer's tour, I knew that the ones in Nimes were not to miss. At the time when I bought the tickets, I was even willing to deal with the summer heat of southern France, and I can say it definitely lived up to those expectations. Magical is the word that I keep coming back to. I spent a little over a week in Germany visiting friends, and then I took a train from the Stuttgart area to Nimes, arriving Thursday night, the day before the show. Originally, my friend and I had planned to travel and catch all the shows together, and we had actually reserved the hotel in Nimes together months ago. And for better or for worse, my friend really likes nice hotels, which is kind of okay for my budget when we split. But unfortunately, she had to go back to the U.S. after the Berlin shows. Plus, the Nimes hotel was our quote-unquote splurge hotel. So I was all alone at a very fancy 5-star hotel. Way out of my budget. 4 nights was about half of my regular monthly rent, and that's in the San Francisco Bay Area. But it might have been worth it. I don't know. Time will tell. Because breakfast Friday morning, I saw Reeves' wife at the buffet, and I realized, oh my God, the band is probably staying at the hotel. And sure enough, word somehow got out. I didn't say anything. And a crowd formed at the entrance of the hotel. The hotel put up some barriers to keep them back. People just hung out there all day. And at night after the first show, they had a sign on the door about it being locked for extra security, and they had to call a number to get in. And then the other nights, they just had a very clear doorman there, only letting in hotel guests. But it wouldn't be that hard to fake being a hotel guest. I mean, they weren't like checking anything. It was just more like you just walk in like you belong there. So Friday I went for a walk, exploring the city, which is really, really, really nice. I really enjoyed the city. I mean, you don't need a lot of, I don't think it's that big. You need a lot of time to explore it. But, it has some Roman temples, and it's cute, and I avoided the hottest part of the day, but it was hot, but I don't think it was as hot as it had been in previous weeks. And I always knew that I had the respite of my fancy hotel with air conditioning to go back to. So when I went for the walk, the crowd was still there, so I figured the band still hadn't left for the venue. So I kind of hung out in the posh hotel lounge for a bit and ended up seeing everyone from the band except for Robert leave for the venue, and then I knew it was official, the band was staying there. They definitely have their own security. I just stayed quiet, but the crowd outside went wild, and several of the band members signed albums before hopping in the cars. And it was the same for Saturday and Sunday, but still no Robert. So I didn't see Robert outside of on stage at all, which is okay. I think it can be kind of overwhelming for him. I think the hotel has like a semi-separate building at the back where they all stayed, and maybe it's possible to exit from there without going to the main entrance. But then I didn't understand why didn't everybody exit that way? Maybe they were distractions. I also saw some significant others, and I saw Jason's son carrying his saxophone. I don't think the roadies were staying at this hotel. In comparison, 2019, I stayed at the same hotel as the band just by chance in Florence, Italy, and there was much more of a party atmosphere after the show in the hotel bar, with the bar being open late and all the roadies and band members hanging out. But here it was pretty chill in the hotel afterward, and officially the bar closes at midnight, which is when the shows ended. The last day, the security got a bit more aggressive. There were a few fans staying in the hotel who tried to talk to them as they walked through the lobby, but they got a really stern talking to by a large British guy. I also see him on stage some. I think he might be maybe a manager. And then they got a stern talking to by one of the bodyguards when they blocked the exit hallway. Just after the third show, the bar actually stayed open late until like 2 a.m. and they had a closed party up above on the pool area. And the waiters were extremely busy, bringing up trays of flutes of champagne. I saw the photographer, Richard Bellia, who was a guest. Another fan got seriously yelled at by the large Brit for snooping around. I just sat and had a dark and stormy and listened to the laughter from the place where I wasn't invited. But to be honest, even if I could there, I'm not sure I would want to be, because I would just feel so out of place and awkward. I was just happy to be in close proximity, I guess to say. Anyway, on to the actual shows. I originally had tickets for the first two shows only, but I managed to get a resale ticket for the third show on Sunday as well. And I had extra tickets because my friend went back to the US, so I sold my friend's tickets for the first 2 days to very nice Cure fans, originally from the US and now in UK. We seem to share a lot of the same favorite Cure eras and have a similar timeline for our fanhood, so it was really nice to connect. The amphitheater is basically oval, and the stage is at one long end of the oval, and there's a floor area with general admission and then 3 rings of assigned seatings. So I was in the second ring all 3 nights in one of the vomitoires or vomitoria, which is not referring to barfing, but the actual architectural entrance or exit that was designed to quickly spew out people after the gladiator fights during Roman times. And all 3 nights I was pretty much just basically straight across from the stage, and the third night I was almost dead center across from the stage. And I had purposely picked those seats just to relax with an assigned seat after all the stress of waiting and rushing and fighting to be close to the stage for the previous shows. And honestly, just to really take in the venue while watching the show. Like, I didn't really get to appreciate the venue of Berlin as much because I was just so close to the stage, focused on the stage. On the first night, as soon as they finished the main set with an hour to go, I knew there was going to be a dark encore before the pop encore that they had been doing on the previous tour. And it was right. We got It Can Never Be the Same and Faith before they came back again for the pop encore, which really hasn't changed much over this tour. For some reason, It Can Never Be the Same really hit me hard this time around. I think Robert was like especially emotional singing this song. I could be wrong, but more than I remember when I saw the song in 2016 and 2023. Faith was just beautiful. When I talk to people about how seeing The Cure live is the closest I come as an atheist to having a religious experience, or when I talk to people about how sad music fills me up and makes me feel satiated in a way that happy music doesn't, that's what I felt while listening to Faith and Meme. It was just amazing. And fun fact about Faith, it actually had been 22 years since I caught Faith live. The last time I got it in LA and San Diego in 2000 and Sacramento in 2004. I was a little bit irritated in 2022 because they did play it 11 times on the European part of the tour, I believe, and I caught 14 shows during that, but I missed every time Faith was played. So it was great to get Faith these 3 nights. However, if I had one quibble about the 3 nights in Nimes, it would be that I wish they had modified the dark encore a little bit each night, but I really can't complain. I got 3 Imaginary Boys, Secrets, which I'd never heard live, In Your House. I got A Letter to Elise in the pop encore, and I know it sounds silly, but I was super excited about Let's Go to Bed in the pop encore. I hadn't caught it yet on this tour. I know it's a really upbeat poppy song on purpose, but I love that song, and I have this little theory, unproven theory, that with different instrumentation and some changes maybe to the end chorus, it could have been a really dark song that could have fit in with the Pornography album. I'm just waiting for some cover band to do this definitive version. And then on a little side note, I think it's really funny that I kind of went off on a tangent in my last report about my dislike for sax solos and horn or brass sections. I'm not sure what the difference is between horn and brass sections. Somebody can educate me. And then at the very next concert that I attend, we get a live sax solo during a night like this. It's kind of like the universe was saying, "Ha! We're gonna show you." So while the solo did take me by surprise, it all came to place in my mind right away that it was Jason's son before Robert even said anything, because I had seen Jason leave the hotel and get in the car with a little sheepish young blonde guy, and I figured, it was a relative or friend of some sort, but I didn't really think much of it. But when Robert announced him after the solo and I heard that he said something Cooper, then I knew that it was his son. It was cute because before the second show, I noticed that he was carrying his own sax, in the case when leaving the hotel, and I thought, he has to carry his own equipment. But then by the third night, he wasn't. Anyways, I'm just teasing a little bit. But this did make me go do a deeper dive into my feelings about saxophone, horns, or brass sections in Cure music, either real or synthetic. Yeah, as I suspected, it started with the Top album, and I do remember an interview from back then with Poro saying that he was brought back to the band initially just to play sax on the album. So Give Me It does have a clear saxophone played by Poro on the album. Unlike other people, I don't actually hate this song. I think it's, it's kind of crazy, and the sax just adds to the craziness. The other songs that have real sax or horns, we have obviously A Night Like This, Close to Me, which is interestingly has a synthetic version on the album, synthetic saxophone on the album version, but real saxophone on the single. I've never had strong feelings about that one. And then Icing Sugar and Hey You have real sax. I like Icing Sugar with sax, so it's causing me to think about my thoughts on saxophone. I guess Why Can't I Be You and Torture have some synthetic instruments there. And then on Wild Smooth Mood Swings, the 13th has real trumpets and trombones, and Gone has real sax and some brass instruments. I was reading, supposedly Hot, Hot, Hot doesn't actually have anything real, or even synthetic brass. It just kind of sounds that way a little bit, but I think it was intended to be synthetic sax or synthetic horns. So while none of those are my favorite songs, I even kind of like Give Me It, unlike other fans. The only one of those that I actually dislike is the 13th. But honestly, the brass section is only one part of the reason it irks me. The others being the Latin rhythms and Robert's vocals. I think Gone might be better without it, but I love Icing Sugar, as I mentioned. So I think overall, I definitely much prefer Cure songs without sax or brass. Kind of makes the songs sound too tinny, if that makes sense. I like to be able to sink into the deep bass lines of the dark songs. But I've come to the conclusion, I think my issue is with the fact that it's a sax solo. If the sax is quirky and worked into the song, then I tend to like it. But I think a sudden solo is just too 80s for me in a bad way. That said, I did enjoy the switch up during Nimes, and I was happy for Gabriel. I just hope there are no sax solos on the next album we are promised. Haha. Well, that's all from me. I'm going to sign off from here. I'm back at home, facing reality, but I'll be keeping track of the tour from afar. Thanks, Gavin.
All right, thank you so much, Colleen. So glad that you were able to add to your already amazing Cure summer experience with these 3 great shows in France. And you got to hear Secrets and Faith. How great is that? Thank you so much for your continued support and correspondence for these shows. So, to summarize, with some highlights and notes that may or may not have already been touched upon, but in conclusion, we gotta say, what a great string of shows this was. A total of 3 tour debuts with It Can Never Be the Same, Faith, and A Letter to Elise. All fucking classics that everyone would love to have in any Cure set list. A guest performance by Gabriel, Jason's 17-year-old son, on sax, bringing back that classic sax solo. I don't think we've ever heard an actual sax solo, even all the way back in the day. Pearl always played the guitar solo over that, even in its time. So pretty rad to finally get that, and he nailed it like exactly like the record. How cool was that? And then just the general set list, super thorough, super diverse, and consisted of 40 of the 50 songs they've played on the entire tour. So they literally almost played every song they've played on this tour. The only ones they didn't play in those 3 nights were Plain Song, Prayers for Rain, Disintegration, which, that stings a little. Fragile Thing, Wrong Number, surprisingly, didn't make it into any of those. 100 Years, Strange Day, Cold, so those are always nice and welcomed. And of course, still no Too Late. I can't believe it. I would have put money down that if they were going to pull any rabbits out of the hat for these 3 shows, it would have been that Too Late was there. But no, lots of rabbits pulled out, but no Too Late still. Will Too Late ever reemerge on this tour? Starting to have my doubts now. I don't know. Probably the final show will be the only time they play it. Who knows? We will continue to watch and monitor. Each night tied the record for the most songs played in a show so far on this tour. Each night they played 30 songs, and that's pretty cool. And of those 40 songs that they played total, a lot of them were ones that had only gotten a couple plays prior in the tour, like 3 Imaginary Boys, Charlotte Sometimes, Primary, In Your House, even Secrets, ones that weren't guaranteed, even if you were going to see some random shows on this tour. So pretty cool that they covered a wide range of the rare ones, even by the tour's perspective there. So, but they did leave some honors to Berlin. Still got that nice pornography block that they didn't get. And of course, Barcelona can still keep its head high and proud that they got the one and only Too Late performance. So not to take away from those or any of the other shows on this tour, but just quite a run of 3 nights here in France. They had a beautiful moon overlooking this epically historic venue. I had no idea that they were playing a place like this. That would have definitely tugged at my soul a little bit harder to try to get over there if I had known. So now I know better. Next time I'll keep an eye out for this place. It looks like an amazing venue. I probably would have been the drunk guy that fell down the stairs there, but well worth it. Looked like they had pretty great weather too. Hard to tell just from videos, but looked pretty amazing, and the crowd looked pretty electrifying. So really, best case scenario, it seems like, for all that. So happy for Tania to get out on this adventure, enduring the physical pain and overcoming her anxieties. Many of us can relate, and getting not only a lovely travel experience, but 3 back-to-back flawless, fucking memorable as hell Cure shows. So very cool and very happy for you. So happy for Colleen too to finally get those songs, like we said. So great experience to add on to her previous Ireland and Berlin experiences, and we'll see where it goes from here. And I know our buddy Allison was there too, and looked like she was having a blast as always. And thanks to Allison for giving us the real-time set list updates on that third night when Susan took the night off, and on the Cure Arts collab thread there that we've been peeking in on as these shows unfold. So thank you, Allison, and so glad that you captured this wonderful experience as well. So we're going to wrap it up there and just kind of stew in this wonderfulness. There's a little bit of a break here between the next show. So coming up next, Lithuania and Estonia. They're saying the first ever Baltic shows for the Cure. They never played there, I guess. And then we got Norway and Sweden after that. So stay tuned. We'll try to cover that as best as possible still, and see what the last leg of this amazing summer tour looks like. So be sure to subscribe and share the podcast with a friend. If you haven't left a review or anything like that, it really gets the show out there and helps people find it. So thank you. And we'll do a quick shout out to the Patreon and call this a night. What do you say? If you want to be a part of our Patreon and help out the show, that would be wonderful. We'd always love to have you. You can go to patreon.com/The Holy Hour Podcast to see what that's all about. And you can be in the ranks of these wonderful people: Craig, Jeff Hilton, Amber, Allison, Tom Burns, John Roberts, Colin, Craig Hogan, Jeff Cortland Jones, Sue, Donna, John Forrester, Dion, Namicio, Matt Ford, Letty, Tony, Ben, Coulter, Tom Johnson, Francisco, Arno, Chip, Nicholas, Shirley, Mara, Caroline, Brian, Sean, Jennifer, Pete Roberts, Nicole, John Richter, Paula, Andreas, and of course Kate over at CureThreads.com, where she has tons of original Cure-inspired designs on a wide range of products. And you can also follow Cure Arts Collab on Instagram, the previously mentioned Cure Arts Collab on Instagram. And it's a place where Kate provides a home base for all amazing Cure artwork created by Cure fans like you. Scott Kroger, host of the Sarlacc Digest. That's the best Star Wars podcast in the galaxy. Counting down the days here. By the time this post, I'll probably be out on the West Coast trying to track down the elusive Scott Kroger, seeing if he's real. Is he a real person or not? We're going to get to the truth. Wednesday night, you can see some version of Scott Kroger on the Sarlacc Digest. Their live shows are Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Pacific time. YouTube, Facebook, don't keep him up too late because we're supposed to go hang out at Disney on Thursday. So don't ask too many questions. David is also on the West Coast, and he runs The Obsessive Geek on Etsy. That's a great shop for Cure-related shopping, and you can find 3D printed recreations of Cure album covers over there and a lot of other cool little stuff, so go check it out, The Obsessive Geek on Etsy. Dana is a freelance animation, illustration, motion graphics designer, and we're welcoming new projects and commissions. You can check out her work at graphics.tv. That's graphics with an X.tv, and drop her a line. And of course, Tania. Thank you so much, Tania. You are a wonderful soul. Just the fact that you are spreading awareness to 988lifeline.org shows that you're an even more wonderful soul. That's the Suicide and Crisis Prevention Hotline with over 200 crisis call centers located all over the U.S. It's available 24/7, offers free and confidential support for people in distress with numerous prevention and crisis resources, too, to help. So if you or anyone you know is in need of help, please reach out to 988lifeline.org. Lisa recommends Dickens. That's the coolest venue up in Calgary, Canada. Go check out dickensyyc.com if you're in that neighborhood and want to see an awesome upcoming show or event. And of course, Chaz's other podcast, James Dobson's Bastard Kids, where each week he and Chrissy take a deep dive into the evangelical church. Each week, Wednesday, episodes drop, new weekly episodes, and hopefully to catch up with Chaz soon here, so it won't be long. All right, that'll do it for us, guys. Take it easy out there. Anyone that traveled to France, hopefully you made it back safe too, and you come back down to earth. I know you're going to be living on cloud 9 for a while, so happy for you guys. So happy that our wonderful, amazing band is just rocking it so perfectly still on this tour, sounding great, looking great, and being great. So we'll see what happens next. Stay tuned, and catch you next time. Talk hard.